at Texas State University. Ganesh completed his master from Tribhuvan University in 2016. He firstly joined in master degree in 2020 as a physics student. Later, he joined and material science, engineering and commercialization program at same university in 2022, and he also did intern as a power R&D engineer at Wolf Spit in Durham, North Carolina in 2024. Today's topic is about fabrication and characterization of ultra band gap heterostructure for high power and high frequency device. And thank you, Ganesh, for accepting our invitation. Now, floor is open for you.
Thank you so much, Boj. Namaste to everyone. It's me, Ganesh Aryal. So let me share my presentation. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Record by the end.
Yes. Yeah, I press the recording button.
Okay, so thank you so much, my friend Boj, and I'm very thankful to the ANPA for inviting us actually to present our research in front of a large number of people. So I'm Ganesh Aryal. I'm a PhD student at Texas State University. I'm doing PhD in material science, engineering, and commercialization. So my advisor is Professor Dr. Edwin L. Piner. I'm very thankful to him for providing me opportunity to do PhD under him guidance. So today I'm going to talk about actually fabrication and characterization of ultra-wide bandgap semiconductors, and that will be related to the heterostructures, and those devices actually will be used in the high power devices. So let's talk about power devices. I think in simple word, if we describe about power device, those devices which can actually handle high voltage and current when we apply it to it, those devices are called power devices. I think you might have already familiar with about the power devices. So for instance, converter, rectifier, and inverter. So those are the terms of, those are like a device example of the devices. And power diode, that is also one type of a device. So that diode actually follow the current in one direction or single direction. And we also call power switch. That is like example, we can say that power switch is a transistor. So in transistor, when we applied a signal to in one terminal, that impacts on other two terminals. So those power devices are actually based on the semiconductors. So let's little bit talk about history of the semiconductors based on the device fabrication. So silicon and germanium, they are known as the first generation semiconductors. So still devices based on silicon and germanium, there we are using still, and those devices are still abundant in our field. Then the second generation semiconductor is known as the gallium arsenide and the indium phosphide. So world was looking for high power devices, and those were the actually suitable candidates at that time. Then after that, world was looking for more high power devices, and those devices are based on the now we can get those devices based on the gallium nitride and silicon carbide. So those high power devices right now we are using are mostly based on the gallium nitride and silicon carbide. And the thing is, they are advancing to maturity, and gallium nitride based transistor has a power advantage over other kind of other devices. So these materials have like a high critical breakdown field, and also they have a high electron sheet density, so that we can utilize these property actually to get the high amount of power flow through it. So these devices can be used in like light emitting diodes or RF electronics and power electronics. So the question is, what will be the future semiconductors? So the next generation semiconductors will be like diamond, aluminum nitride, gallium oxide, and boron nitride. So the interesting thing is, once we suppose these materials as a insulator, now we are assuming semiconductor. So the world is actually advancing on in that terms as well as. So actually my research is related focused on the diamond and aluminum nitride, and this image shows the one of the indicator of a biological figure of merit, and those materials which falls on the right lower right corner are the best or suitable materials for the power devices. So we can see that aluminum nitride, diamond, and boron nitride, those will be the good for the power devices. More powerful devices compared to the gallium nitride and silicon carbide actually. Now let's little bit talk about ultra wide bandgap semiconductors. So those semiconductors which have a band gap usually greater than 4 electron volt, they are called the ultra wide bandgap semiconductors. For instance, like aluminum gallium nitride, that band gap varies from 3.4 electron volt to 6.02 electron volt. And that band gap depends upon the aluminum content on the gallium nitride. So, I mean, we can tell that aluminum gallium nitride has a tunable band gap. So we can change the band gap of that material based on the aluminum content. Diamond has around 5.5 electron volt band gap, whereas aluminum nitride has around 6.02 electron volt. And gallium oxide is also called the ultra wide band gap semiconductors. The promising applications for this type of materials are like we can use those materials in RF and high power electronics, deep UV optoelectronics, like we can produce UV rays that can cure, that can be used to like water disinfection and other topic like those UV optoelectronics also, I think, can be implemented to cure some type of cancers. Rupesh might know more about that, but I'm not sure on that. So also we can use the quantum electronics, and also we can use these materials in terms of harsh environment applications. So my motivation behind working on ultra wide bandgap materials is that these materials have a superior performance than compared to the wide bandgap materials. And these materials will be applied in the photonic and electronic applications. So these ultra wide bandgap materials have like a very, ultra high critical electric field they can bear, and they are also like a chemical inertness. So there is a tremendous potential, but these materials are still in the nascent stage. So there is a lot of research gap. So we can involve and do some research on those materials. So these are some data. Those are related to the ultra wide bandgap materials. And if we see this plot, just changing the aluminum content on the gallium nitride, we can get different power, different intensity of light based on the aluminum content. So my research it will be focused on my research is focusing on the designing of transistors based on the ultra wide bandgap material. So I am showing right now, this is the proposed structural design, so that we will be laterally integrating silicon doped aluminum gallium nitride, like 75% aluminum gallium nitride, and p-type doped diamond. So this type of transistor can actually handle very high voltage. I think we can anticipate that it can handle up to like around 5 or 10 kilovolt. So that's a very huge amount of voltage we can actually control by simply a very simple device. So that's our actually aim to actually fabricate the transistor based on the ultra wide bandgap materials. So we have already experimented about possibility or feasibility of integrating ultra wide bandgap materials. So in my master's thesis, actually in my master's work, we did the lateral integration of aluminum nitride and diamond, and that work suggested us that it is feasible to actually make a lateral device based on the aluminum nitride and the diamond. So these are actually the SEM and TM images of the fabricated device, and this chart, actually schematic diagram, shows the overall process flow. On that, actually, we deposited aluminum nitride on the silicon, then we did some photo lithography process, and we did some etching of the, or we did our dry etching process. Then we did the shading process of diamond. Then we grew the diamond on the trench part of the aluminum nitride. And if you see that, so this is the aluminum nitride on the silicon, and diamond was growing both vertically as well as horizontally in the trench part. So, and the interface looks like so smooth, so that we can anticipate that the interface acts as a good good interface for the charge carrier transport. So the question is, how do we grow aluminum, gallium nitride, or diamond in our lab? So we use metal organic chemical vapor deposition system to grow aluminum nitride or third nitride materials. So this image shows the different various parts of the MOCVD reactor system that is available in our lab. So usually MOCVD works at a very high temperature, and we have to use a lot of gas like hydrogen, nitrogen, and ammonia, as well as we also need to use some precursor for the trimethyl aluminum or trimethyl gallium. So I think I will talk a little bit more about it next slide. So routinely we grow the high electron mobility transistor in our lab. So I mean, if we look at this image, there is a lot of different layers in the device. So high electron mobility transistor structure, like high electron mobility transistor, we can make from this type of structure, so that this is the gallium nitride layer, and this is the strained aluminum gallium nitride. So in the interface, there is a formation of two-dimensional electron gas, so that actually the scientific world, the world is right now using this two-dimensional electron gas to make a very powerful transistor based on this two-dimensional electron gas. And these layers are used these layers are called the transition layers. So there is some lattice mismatch between materials, so that these layers will act as transition layers to reduce the, to improve the quality of the epi layers. So these images, schematic images, shows actually there are some parts of the MOCVD, so that the MOCVD chamber looks like this. So the temperature goes around we usually grow our materials around 1050 degrees Celsius, and there is a lot of parts in MOCVD, and we use hydrogen as a carrier gas, so that hydrogen actually carry the precursors of aluminum and other sources. That hydrogen carries the precursors into the chamber, whereas ammonia also flows into the chamber, and there is a chemical reaction, so that precursor will react with precursor actually react with ammonia at high temperature, so that actually helps to form gallium nitride and some other compounds. So other compounds actually exhausted through the pump, and the gallium nitride or aluminum nitride or other compounds, they actually grow on the sample. So now, how we grow the diamond? So we grow the diamond using hot filament chemical vapor deposition. So these are the various parts of the hot chemical vapor deposition of our reactor in our lab, so that the chemical reaction is based on that dissociation of methane at high temperature, so that every hydrogen start to dissociate from methane, and we will get the like a carbon at very high temperature around 800 degrees Celsius, so that when methane detaches, it will separate in terms of carbon and hydrogen, and the carbon is deposited in the substrate. So in hot filament, in the chamber, the hot filament we use is tungsten wires, and how actually heat is generated on that wire is that we apply some voltage. We apply some voltage and current, then the wire actually gets heated. So that based on the Joule heating effect, I think we get the heat on that wire. So that based on the dissociation of carbon and hydrogen from methane, we get the diamond, and there is also very good chance of formation of graphite instead of diamond, so that there is some window region of the condition, so that we have to follow on that to actually get the diamond like sp3 bonding of the carbon. So now let's look at some state-of-art devices based on Intel and Wolfspeed. So Intel is actually trying to do some research on fabrication of high-power devices based on the gallium nitride HEMT structures. So if you see that, so this is the power type of transistor. So, and they actually trying to make a intrinsically off type of a device based on the P type of gallium nitride. So this type of off type of 2DEG is beneficial actually to make a power device. So if we want to implement our gallium nitride HEMT structure in terms of like RF devices, then we don't want to make off type for that. So we want on type of two-dimensional electron gas, so that for that we just they can make like some circuit barrier just above the 2DEG, and they're also trying to fabricate the device that can work for both power and RF. So that is based on this type of metal oxide semiconductor high electron mobility transistor, MOSFET type of device. Then I want to talk a little bit about silicon carbide power transistors. So I got actually I got a chance to do some research on last summer. So I got internship on Wolfspeed. So they are the pioneer for the silicon carbide wafer, and also they are the first industry. They implemented the silicon carbide transistor, and they are the main supplier right now for the silicon carbide transistor. So if we see that, so this is just simply a silicon carbide transistor fabricated by the Cree or Wolfspeed, and the single MOSFET power runs. There is like thousands of transistors. So in this one device, there is like a 61,000 of transistor cells. So that can actually be around. So this transistor actually can work up to like a 1200 volt capacity, so that so these are the most powerful device up to now fabricated by Wolfspeed, and they are still working, they are doing the research and development to increase the power up to 1700 volt. So I think that will be in market soon. So if you see the some cross-section image of this cross section of a SEM image. So this is the single unit of the transistor. So this type of there will, in this device there will be like 61,000 of this type of device, and those will actually work parallelly to get to achieve the desired amount of current to flow through it. And I think those are the things I had to tell. So I had to show. I think this is my last slide. And thank you again for the ANPA for providing opportunity. And I'm also very thankful to my friend boards for calling me regarding this talk. And thank you all. So is there any questions? I'm open to questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Ganesh. Any questions from audience?
So let me stop there.
There is no questions. Let's go to the second speaker.
We have a question at the last for both speaker. Yeah, we can just for question for both speaker at the last also.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let me introduce our second speaker. Is the Rupesh Ghimire. He is the medical physics resident at the Department of Radiation Oncology, Washington University School of Medicine, St. Louis. Rupesh completed his master from Tribhuvan University in 2016 and joined as a PhD student in Georgia State University in 2017 as a PhD in condensed matter physics. Later, he did postdoctoral research at UC San Diego Health from 2022 to 2024, and then he continued as a postdoctoral researcher at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in 2024. Today talks is about advances in cancer treatment, online adaptive radiation therapy, and AI dose predictions. Now, floor is open for Rupesh.
Hi, Bozras. Thank you for the nice introduction. Let me share my slides. Okay, this is going to be the PowerPoint. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. This is going to be my topic. Yeah, I'm a medical physics resident at WashU now. I'm planning to discuss about two projects that I did under my advisors in UC San Diego and Thomas Jefferson. The PI names are listed here, Dr. Ghimire and Mukjin Choi. So my talk will focus around online adaptive radiotherapy and AI dose predictions. Both are related to the cancer treatment. So I would start with a little bit of background to people who might, be a little bit unfamiliar about this topic. So what is radiation therapy? I gotta push this to the side. Okay, what is radiation therapy? So what we do in radiation therapy is use a high energy beam. It can be X-ray, gamma ray, or charged particle. So basically you have a device or machine called linear accelerator. A patient lays on the bed and a tumor is targeted through the rays or radiation coming through these machines. Now, the process of radiation therapy, it consists of different steps. One is the MD consultation, where you talk to the doctor about, the risk and benefit of the treatment. At the same time, the doctor will let you know whether, you want to continue or not, or in a sense that he will give you an overview of what happens during the treatment process. and always there should be a consent of the patient if he decides to go through the treatment. Once this step is done, you'll go into the simulation process. The simulation process is mostly imaging, but to image a patient, you need to position a patient in a way that you can replicate the same position during the treatment phase as well. So that is called immobilization technique. So in the simulation phase, you take CT scan or MRI where you hold a patient to the certain position. Next one is the treatment planning. Now, this is necessary because, if you irradiate the entire section, the patient will receive high amount of dose to the organs that don't really need the dose there. And that will create health complication, toxicity, that how you define it. So the treatment planning is a very crucial step. After the treatment planning, you have a plan which you load onto this machine, and therapists will deliver a treatment. Now, during this process, there is also quality. Every steps there are quality assurance, so that you can minimize the health risk in several steps. So, why is physics needed in radiotherapy? That is a question I had when I, made my transition from condensed matter to the medical physics. So basically, we are supposed to collaborate with oncologists to design 3D dose distributions for cancer treatment, ensuring tumors get lethal doses that we can eliminate the tumor while sparing the healthy tissue. That is very important for the reasons that I discussed earlier. Now, the second thing is, as a physicist, you are responsible to verify the radiation producing equipment, whether that be a linear accelerator or CT scanner, they meet the strict accuracy standards. Talking about the accuracy, we are talking about millimeter range, 1 to 2 millimeter. That is, how small, how tight the margins are while you deliver the radiation. Then we also need to establish guidelines to limit radiation exposure to patient and staff, and we have to maintain certain national and international regulation there. Last but not the least, there is a research aspect to enhance imaging and treatment precision, optimize safety, efficacy, and translate physics advancement into clinical solution. Basically, you have to advance the field, you have to find better ways of treating the patient, which would benefit the entire procedure. So my research was on the aspect of benefiting the cancer patient, which I'll discuss now. So one of my projects was predicting dose benefit of online adaptive radiotherapy in cervical cancer patient. The reason why we chose the cervical cancer patient for our study was it is the fourth most common type of cancer in women, and the fatalities are quite high. If you talk about US alone, there are over 4,000 fatalities with tons of new cases. Worldwide, the number is even on the higher end. So let's give you a brief overview on the anatomy of the female cervical cancer patient. I have taken a transverse slice. So if you cut this, I don't think you can see my cursor at this time. Pointer option and okay. So if you make a transverse slice of this patient like this, you will end up with a CT scan, a slice of what's shown in the left. Now, there are targets, which is marked in red, that will be cervix or nodes. And there are other organs like bowel space in orange, bladder, and femoral heads. Now, our aim here is to eliminate the target or kill the cancer here. At the same time, reduce the dose in the bladder as well as the bowel space. So essentially, if you can do that in a perfect way, that is what we're striving for all throughout the research. So let's go into the clinical workflow, which I mentioned earlier. MD consultation, you go through the SIMCT. Once you have the image from the CT scanner, you will contour those parts manually. So you will mark this is bowel space, this is bladder, and these are targets. Next step is the planning. Now, during the planning, you have a dose distribution as given as here. Now, it is almost impossible to just hit the target and not have dose to the nearby organs. We all call them organs at risk. So after you go through the planning step, which is a dose cloud you have here, you on the day of the treatment, you have a set of imaging, and then you go through the treatment. This is the process of radiation treatment. It goes, your objective is to deliver certain amount of dose to kill this cancer cell. But, to deliver that amount of dose in the single fraction or at one time, can be lethal to the patient. Your tissue needs healing. And that is the reason why this process, it encompasses several weeks, more than half a month as well, 1.5 months, or you can expect longer times. And during that time, you can expect the patient to be in the clinic every single day, receiving a part of that dose which was initially planned. So, so let's say during the course of the treatment, after 15 days, a physician sees that, well, the anatomy has changed, the tumor size has shrunken, let's replan. In that regards, you have to replan that image. So what happens is, now you are going through the same initial process again because you can't use the initial plan. So you go through the process of replanning, and now this is resource intensive because, with every steps here, which I have mentioned, it comes at the expense of the time of dosimetry, the therapist, MD, physicist, and also the machine time. So it will be very resource intensive to replan the image. The other type of treatment is the online adaptive workflow. Now, what's different in this online adaptive workflow is you use that set of imaging that you take daily, and then you use AI-based machine to auto-segment and auto-plan the image. So essentially what you are doing is you are replanning that image every single day using the AI framework, which will basically ensure that you are treating the patient with the latest plan, and the patient receives the maximum benefit. But the caveat here is, this still takes 1 hour. So let's look into this. What is adaptive radiotherapy? Adaptive radiotherapy is an emerging technique for treating cancer patients, which uses imaging from either MRI or CBCT CBCT is a cone beam CT, just like a CT scan, to change the radiation plan at each treatment. So you are changing the plan at each treatment. Now, what makes adaptive radiotherapy different is the radiation dose is adapted during the treatment via the modification of treatment plan. So we are treating with a different plan. You can expect same or better target coverage with reduced margin. I will talk the aspect of reduced margin in the coming slide. Organ motion and tumor regression are taken into account because you are basically treating the patient with the plan which was just created like 30 minutes ago. So organ motion are much more reduced, and minimizes the exposure to the healthy tissue and reduce toxicity and side effects, which is our major goal. So here is a side-by-side comparison between the standard plan on the left and the adapted plan on the right. So the greenish area is the dose cloud. So what happens is, when you decide to treat a patient within standard plan, which is most clinic do, you need to ensure the margins of the target are bigger. So it is because you need to account for the fact that you might not be precisely hitting the tumor because the anatomy can change within a few days. So that is the reason why the standard plan have larger margins, and hence they have bigger dose cloud. But then now treating with the adapted plan, with using adaptive radiotherapy, you can shrink down that margin because now you know that your anatomy is kind of fixed. So you don't need that much of leverage in terms of the target volume that you need to irradiate. You can make those margins tighter, and then expect to have basically the same or better result. what it does is when you make these margins tighter, you see these bowel loop, which bowel space, which is the orange structure here. It is getting much lesser dose in the right with adapted plan as compared to the standard plan. So we are essentially benefiting the patient in this case. Now, ART comes with certain challenges. And one of the challenges is it requires the presence of trained expert to control the daily anatomy. You need more human resource there, extra online and offline supervision by physician. And it eventually leads in the longer treatment time is 40 to 50 minutes as compared to the standard plan, which will be finished within 15 minutes at most. The available adaptive systems are MRI guided, which takes MRI images, to control, to select the organs, or you can have CBCT based, which is a CT based imaging ethos. So our motivation in this research is we start to predict the subset of node-negative cervical cancer patient with the greatest benefit from ART. So what we are trying to do now is we have somehow come into the conclusion that ART is benefiting the patient, but at the same time ART will take 3 to 4 times longer than the standard care. So what we do is let's select the patient who benefit most from the ART. That's the best way to go, because that way we can save the resources at the same time ensure patient benefit. So this is the main motivation of our research. So why adapt cervical cancer patient? Why did we select that particular case of cervical cancer? Why not lung cancer or other cancer? Is because of the large daily motion. So here, day 5, day 10, day 15, day 20, and 25, they say that what they say is these organs which should not receive the radiation dose, they come in the path of the PTV, which we have to treat. And the daily motion is quite higher, so we cannot resort to the plan that was made 5 days earlier. We have to treat them with the plan that was made on the same day, which is what adaptive radiotherapy is. Let's go into the methods now. In the methods, we have 20 retrospective GYN cervical cancer patient. So we took 20 patients, 5 fractions for each patient. That makes our data set of about 100. We chose 12 plans per patient in our study, and study was focused mostly on bowel V40 benefit. Other included V45, bladder demean, and rectum demean. Now you all might be thinking what these metrics are here. Now, these metrics are designed to evaluate how much dose an organ is getting. It can be a volume-based dose or the mean that the organ is, or the mean actual dose, that goes into the organ. Saying that bowel V40 is 30 cc, that means, okay, 30 cc of bowel is getting certain 40 gray of dose. So we came up with these units because we can't read every single point of the dose. So resorting onto some particular metric can still be used to evaluate our treatment performance. So now I will discuss about the predicted versus the calculated benefit. So as I mentioned before, we have the standard of care plan and we have a reduced margin plan. So what we did here was, let's just reduce the margin. These were treated with 7 millimeter expansion on the target. Let's expand it a little bit lesser. Let's make a 3 millimeter expansion here. And that is our predicted benefit. Now the adaptive benefit is on the day of the treatment. Basically, you have standard of care plan of that particular day in the adapted plan on that particular day. That is the calculated adaptive benefit. And we'll try to find the relation between these two. So figuratively speaking, in terms of the data, let's take initial standard of care plan and initial 3 millimeter plan. The difference between them is the predicted benefit. Let's take the daily standard of care plan, which is larger margin, and daily 3 millimeter plan, and that is the calculated benefit. So I already stressed on that point, but let's look into these dose metrics of bowel, rectum, and bladder, which are kind of organs at risk for that GI and cervical cancer patient, and see how does ART perform compared to the standard of care larger margin plan. What you see here is the volume of the bowel that receives higher dose has significantly gone lower. On the daily SSC plan, you see on the rectum D50, which is 50% dose, you still see the values going down. So there's a reduction of dose in most cases while going standard plan to the adapted plan. However, our result was more centralized on finding those particular patients who benefit. So we plotted 20 patients here, took average of the 5 fraction. So initial, our predicted benefit is on the x-axis, the calculated benefit is on the y-axis. And what we found out was these are the patients, this patient on the top, they receive maximum benefit from the adaptive radiotherapy. So what we found out was patients starting with higher initial values, let's say someone is getting very high dose in the initial plan, are more likely to get the adaptive benefit. So let's look into those patients, send them to the adaptive treatment. So this is one of our findings on this study. We also did multivariate and lasso regression to find multiple metrics, but that will take longer. So that's why I didn't discuss here. So it will be beneficial for physician and clinic who are looking for a quick way to evaluate if a patient would obtain substantial benefit from adaptation. So we felt this accomplished our goal. We have a paper published on this. I forgot to attach it, but maybe I can provide if it's necessary. This is another project. I don't know, we still have 12 minutes time, so I can discuss a little bit on that if it's okay. This is a AI-based dose prediction in SBRT lung cancer patient from the diagnostic PET-CT image. So what we do here essentially is use the diagnostic PET-CT image. PET-CT images are one of the convention as a functional imaging to locate the position of the tumor in the body. Let's say someone is diagnosed as a cancer through biopsy or something. Before the treatment or even to diagnose, they use PET-CT. But let's say we have a PET-CT available, we'll use AI-based dose prediction algorithms in lung cancer patient to find the dose prediction, like how will the dose cloud look like? Lung cancer patient, because I think it is the most serious type of cancer with fatalities and cases that you can see on the screen. Multidisciplinary clinic serve is a standard of care for patients with lung cancer treated with SBRT. Multidisciplinary because we are using PET-CT scan along with our regular CT scan. It is beneficial to have information available and dose to organs at risk. But what we get from this PET-CT analysis from AI is the information, the early information that can presumably help physician make better plans or prescribe the amount of dose in itself, and develop an AI-based dose prediction algorithm using diagnostic PET-CT scan and OIR control mask. So what we are using is the PET-CT scan and also the organs at risk, those structures that I discussed earlier, but in case of lungs now it will be lungs and heart, and we make a contour mask of those. On the figure below, what you'll see here is the process. So you have a PET-CT taken, you have a SIM-CT, you will go through contouring just as before. You have a planning in process, the radiation planning which generate 3D dose distribution. And here you have on the right, you have the tumor and the dose cloud that was scheduled for treatment. So how is our approach different? How does AI integration change things here? Which takes 2 weeks to get this thing done, now takes few minutes. Because essentially these 3 steps of taking the image, the SIM-CT imaging, contouring, and planning they can all be done through AI in terms of how it can predict from the PET-CT. So dataset characteristic, we ran the data of 112 patient. Modality is something different because you have different type of cancer. So this was SBRT. PET-CT as a diagnostic scan, OAR auto-contoured from PET-CT. So we use some auto-contouring algorithm. It is auto-contouring algorithm is similar to the image detection most of you have seen in probably with Facebook. It can detect the image. So we use similar type of thing, but in a 3D scale to detect the organs using the CT scans. So you have contoured mask. So contoured mask, OAR contoured mask are mask 3D matrices. So think about just 3D matrix where the indices are 1 for the spaces containing organ and elsewhere is 0. So we use 1, 2, 3, 4 of those masks. We have dose map from the planning city. Registration is not important, and resample. So the CT boxes are pretty small, so we need to resample it kind of bigger so that it will be less data, but at the same time we can still contain the same information. I mean to say retain the same information. So model training and details. So we use RTX A6000 48GB NVIDIA GPU. Data augmentation, we did some random flip. We used cropped patches and intensity shift. For the loss function, we use root mean square error, RMSE, which is pretty common, and masked RMSE, which is you take the RMSE within the organ, certain organ. So that's a masked RMSE. Trading parameters, we use two different framework, attention unit and unit. And these are the training parameter if you are familiar with the AI. So code we ran on PyTorch, and we did use Ignite is one of our supporting libraries. Evaluation metrics, the metrics that I discussed before, mean heart dose difference and lungs V20. So these metrics are a little bit different because the site is different now. We are not treating cervical cancer patient this time. This is a lung patient. So lung patient have heart dose difference and lungs V20. The process is you have an input as PET-CT and image mask. You have a training, you divide them into training and testing data as a regular AI model, and then you find the output, which is our predicted dose map. So let's look at the training curves. We use RMSE loss as y minus y y hat, which is the actual minus the predicted, pretty common in statistics. And then total RMSE loss is given here. So figures on the left are the epoch loss, RMSE, and masked RMSE. So epoch loss will go down as your number of epoch increases. So number of iteration as you increase in the AI, any AI framework, you can expect this type of characteristic where you have reduced epoch loss, and that's how and the place where the model type of converges is where you think that okay, now our model has converged. Let's make a prediction based on what model we have at this point where it has saturated. So these are the training curves. Let's look into the results for the mean heart dose difference. In the mean heart dose difference, we have two different architecture, attention unit and unit. In the attention unit, we have three different types of input, PET-CT, PET, and CT. And what we saw here, and the unit was PET-CT, we had the same input, but in both cases, we performed this with OAR mask, so just with few input, or without OAR mask. So with OAR mask, we have like 7 additional metrics that we added to the input along with the PET-CT, PET, or CT. What we found here was the attention unit generally shows lower median difference and smaller IQR compared to the unit. So what we are looking is, this is a difference between the mean heart dose, dose. So your predicted mean heart dose and your actual mean heart dose, if it's closer to the zero, if the difference is close to the zero, that means our model is performing better. Now, in certain cases, it's not performing better. Like if you take the PET only input, PET image only, it is not performing better. So what we found out was attention unit, it was showing better results in that aspect. It doesn't matter whether you were using OIR mask or whether you were not using OIR mask, it did not matter. It was performing better. But one of the reasons why it was performing better is attention unit takes longer time to train. It took like 12 hours compared to the unit which took 1 hour. So attention unit, it focuses on the certain gradient, areas and creates its own type of the lines or the what OIR mask would generally do. That is why you don't have much difference between using OIR mask or without using OIR mask in the attention unit. Unit, on the other hand, is very quick to run, but you can see that if you use PET-CT or CT, it performs as good as attention unit in less time. Lungs V20 is the other case. The same story repeats in this one, where you have attention unit performing better by a smaller difference overall. So what we found out was attention unit generally outperforms unit in predicting mean heart dose difference. First of all, we predicted the mean heart dose difference on lungs V20. We were successful in that. We found a model which would predict, which would give better results. And PET-CT input with mask yields the best results for both models in more cases. That was more generalized statement there. So improved accuracy using PET-CT and masks. So if you use mask as an additional input, it will enhance the prediction accuracy in those AI models. That's something we saw there again. And we believe that this information will facilitate in the decision making. We have submitted this in APM. Let's see if it gets accepted. So this was all my talk for today. Thank you for listening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Rupesh, for nice presentation.
If anyone has questions, I'm open to answering those, please.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, all right. So I have the maybe basic question about the ART. How do you incorporate like the input image, maybe data, and other in the ART during replanning, like replanning?
Okay, let me bring that slide here. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get back there now. Okay, ART was the first research. This one, right?
Yes, I guess.
Okay, so your question was, how do you bring the data back to the replanning?
Yes, how do you incorporate, like you will get some images from the earlier treatment and you'll have some data from that one, right? Maybe some information about how much target is covered, maybe how much cells are getting better, or maybe healthy cells are improving, or maybe other nearby cells are damaged or not. Maybe how do you incorporate that thing in the AI actually? Like how would be the data?
Okay, let me answer that question. So this research is not AI based. The first research, we did not use AI. The idea of replanning here was, let's say a patient goes through the treatment and after 15 days, you see, tumor size has changed. A doctor recommends, okay, we cannot treat this patient with the same plan we used before. Then we need to replan. Replanning is completely manual. You are not using any AI techniques in this one. A patient has to go through CT again, go in the scanner, get the images taken, have the plan made, and goes through the treatment. Now, the possibility of integrating AI during the replanning is it's quite interesting in a sense that AI, I don't think it can predict how much the tumor will regress or how much anatomy will change. As far as how much I'm concerned about right now, how much I know the information, because what AI can do right now is it can look at the image that already exists and find a pattern. But finding how much it will regress over the time, it will be a very challenging task for AI. So unfortunately, replanning won't see AI in foreseeable future, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. So next thing is like I'm quite maybe not familiar with what is the masking actually like.
Okay, masking is an AI technique. So it's not only limited to the medical physics. So any type of AI experiment that you run, you need data, right? You need the more number of input, it's more likely that you are giving it more information. Now, let's say you give the model information in terms of the CT scan, right? You have a matrix that contains all the value of the CT scan. But now you want to give it further information about what organs are there, okay, inside the CT scan. How you do that is just give them a boundary, right? Give model a boundary saying, okay, look, we have 5 organs and whatever is one is the organ inside those masks. So masking is in a way of adding additional information to the input, which you already have. It's like, you can give a whole big picture, and at the same time, you can give those smaller boundaries along with this picture to make model more precise. Not
We
just
may
limited to the
find
medical.
something so that the machine can correctly interpret our.
Yes, yeah, it's like assisting AI in finding things.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Rupesh ji, I have just one question. Very nice presentation. I was curious about the data set you used for cervical cancer. Which treatment modality was it from?
What treatment modality we use? It was IMRT treatment on
This
ethos.
Ghimire? With
No,
Ghimire?
it was not Ghimire, it was ethos.
So you
CVC.
treat cervical. You
CVC
treat
based.
cervical.
Mhm.
You treat cervical cancer patient with ethos.
Yes, we do. We used to treat there in UCSD. I'm not there anymore. They still do, I'm pretty sure, and they do have a research group that studies, the effects of treatment using ethos.
So you don't use brachytherapy for cervical cancer.
Brachytherapy comes after the ethos treatment. So
as a boost, then you mean?
Yeah, it's a boost. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Okay, Bozar. Yeah.
Okay, any questions from other audience? Since no questions from anyone. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Rupesh and Ganesh, for nice presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Bye,
Thank
good
you, guys.
night.